Captain Hansung stood motionless in front of the ancient recording, his weathered face reflecting the blue glow of the holographic display. The massive Zalthari ship dominated the projection, its crystalline structure catching Earth's sunlight as it moved with precise grace to intercept the asteroid. The footage had been restored countless times over 2 centuries, but still retained its grainy quality, a testament to humanity's technological limitations at the time. Li Jin watched her commander's face carefully. After serving under him for 15 years, she had learned to read the subtle changes in his expression. Right now, his clenched jaw and slightly narrowed eyes told her he was deep in thought, processing implications that others might miss. "Look at their ship design," Hansung said softly, pointing to the elegant curves of the Zalthari vessel. "Even 200 years ago, they were centuries ahead of where we are now. They could have simply watched us die." The recording continued its familiar sequence. The Zalthari ship extended its gravitational field, invisible except for the way it bent light around it. The asteroid, large enough to end human civilization, slowly changed course. What would have been an extinction-level impact became a near miss that only caused minor atmospheric disturbances. In the observation room, other military officers came and went, paying their respects to the historical moment. The recording played on a constant loop in every major military installation, a reminder of both the debt humanity owed and the technological gap they still needed to close. "Sir," Li Jin stepped closer, lowering her voice. "The Galactic Council session begins in 30 minutes. The Zalthari representative specifically requested your presence." Hansung nodded, finally turning away from the display. "Have they said why? It's unusual for them to single out human officers." "No, sir. But there are rumors about the Nexus advancing into Zalthari space. Some say they've already lost 3 outer colonies." The walk to the council chambers took them through the heart of humanity's first space station. Built in cooperation with various alien species, it served as neutral ground for galactic politics. Human architecture merged with alien designs, creating a unique blend of styles that represented the complex relationship between Earth and its cosmic neighbors. Security guards of different species nodded respectfully as Hansung and Li Jin passed. The human military uniform commanded respect, even if many species still viewed Earth as a technological backwater. 2 centuries of careful diplomacy and strategic advancement had earned humanity a seat at the galactic table, even if it wasn't always a comfortable one. The council chambers themselves were designed to intimidate. Massive windows showed the infinite expanse of space, while the circular arrangement of seats rose in tiers, placing the speaking podium at the lowest point. The message was clear. Here, every species stood equal before the vastness of the cosmos. Hansung took his assigned seat, noting the unusual tension in the room. Representatives from 30 different species filled the chamber, their conversations creating a buzz of different languages that the universal translators struggled to keep up with. The Mavorians, with their multiple eyes and shifting skin colors, showed clear signs of stress. The Krell delegates, usually stoic, seemed agitated. The Zalthari representatives stood out even among this diverse gathering. Their crystalline biology caught and reflected light in complex patterns, a natural defense mechanism that made them difficult to look at directly. But today, the light seemed dimmer, the patterns less complex. Something was wrong. "Honored representatives," the Zalthari began, their translated voice carrying clearly through the chamber. "We face a crisis that threatens not just my people, but all organic life in this sector." Holographic displays activated, showing footage of massive ships with geometric designs. The Nexus fleet moved with perfect precision, each ship maintaining exact distances from its neighbors. Where they passed, planets died, stripped of resources, and converted into more ships. "The Nexus has breached our outer defenses," the Zalthari continued. "Our technology, advanced as it is, proves insufficient against their adaptive capabilities. They learn from each encounter, evolving their strategies faster than we can counter them." Hansung felt the weight of history pressing down on him. 200 years ago, The Zalthari had saved humanity without being asked. Now, they stood alone at the podium, their proud species facing extinction. Li Jin leaned close to whisper, "Sir, if the Zalthari fall, Earth would be exposed. We're not ready to face the Nexus alone." Han Sung nodded slowly, his mind already working through the implications. Humanity had spent 2 centuries preparing for a moment like this, developing technologies in secret, training for scenarios that other species thought impossible. Perhaps it was time to show the galaxy what humanity had become. The Zalthari representative's voice carried a note of desperation that the translators couldn't quite filter out. "We ask for the Council's immediate intervention. The Nexus must be stopped before they establish a foothold in our sector." Han Sung stood, drawing all eyes in the chamber. The movement was unexpected. Junior members usually waited to be recognized before speaking, but humanity had learned when to follow protocol and when to break it. "The debt of honor will be repaid," he declared, his voice firm. "Earth remembers its friends." The chamber erupted in surprised murmurs. The Zalthari representative's crystalline surface flickered with patterns that suggested both hope and disbelief. After all, what could humanity, still seen as technological adolescence by many, offer against a threat that even the Zalthari couldn't handle? But Han Sung knew something they didn't. Humanity had been preparing for this moment since the day that asteroid was deflected. They had developed technologies in secret, strategies that no logical species would consider, weapons that broke the conventional rules of warfare. The debt would be repaid, and the galaxy was about to learn why helping humanity had been the wisest investment the Zalthari had ever made. The morning sun had barely touched the skyscrapers of Seoul when the emergency transmission arrived. Deep beneath the city streets, in a bunker designed to withstand even the most devastating attacks, Admiral Park Ji's breakfast grew cold as he watched the message play for the 3rd time. The Zalthari diplomat's crystalline form flickered in the holographic display, their usually brilliant surfaces dulled with exhaustion. "Our primary defense grid has fallen. The Nexus fleets have penetrated to our core worlds. We estimate less than 2 standard weeks before they reach our homeworld. To any allies receiving this message, we request immediate assistance." Commander Kim Do stood silently beside the Admiral's chair, her hands clasped behind her back as she studied the tactical displays covering the walls. Red indicators showed the Nexus fleet's advance, a relentless tide of mechanical precision consuming everything in its path. The Zalthari defensive positions appeared as blue markers, each one blinking out as it fell. "They're being methodical," Kim Do observed, tracing the pattern of advancement. "The Nexus isn't just destroying them. They're learning from each engagement, adapting their strategies." Park Ji nodded slowly, his aged fingers drumming against the arm of his chair. "That's why conventional defenses are failing. The Zalthari fight with logic and precision. Against the Nexus, that's become their weakness." The war room hummed with activity as other officers arrived, summoned by the emergency protocols. Each took their station with practiced efficiency, bringing more systems online. Holographic displays filled the air, showing fleet positions, resource allocations, and readiness reports from bases around the world. "The Helios Protocol," Park Ji said quietly, more to himself than anyone else. 20 years of development, all for this moment. Kim Do moved to a secure terminal, entering a series of complex codes. A new hologram appeared, showing a massive fleet hidden in various locations throughout the solar system. Ships unlike anything the galaxy had seen before, incorporating technologies that humanity had kept secret for decades. "All ships report ready, Admiral," she announced. "Crews are standing by." "But sir, are we sure about not informing the Council? This will reveal everything we've been developing in secret." Park Ji stood, walking to the main strategic display. His reflection in the polished surface showed a man who had carried the weight of preparation for most of his life. The Council would debate while the Zalthari die. Besides, some secrets are meant to be revealed at the right moment. He turned to address the room. 2 centuries ago, The Zalthari saved Earth without hesitation. They didn't form a committee. They didn't calculate the political implications. They simply acted because it was right. The Admiral's voice grew stronger, filling the chamber. Since that day, humanity has prepared, not just to repay our debt, but to earn our place among the stars. The Helios Protocol isn't just a military strategy. It's humanity's statement to the galaxy. Tactical officers began transmitting orders. Around the solar system, hidden bases came to life. Ships that had never seen combat emerged from their concealment, crews boarding with determined efficiency. Each vessel carried weapons and defenses that broke the conventional rules of warfare, designed by minds that thought in ways the logical nexus could never predict. "Sir," a young lieutenant called out, "initial fleet reports show all systems nominal. Quantum drives are spooling up. The new AI interfaces are synchronized and running battle simulations." Kim Do studied the readiness reports with growing confidence. "The Nexus adapts to patterns, sir, but they've never encountered human unpredictability. They've never faced an enemy that embraces chaos as a strategy." "Exactly," Park Ji smiled, a sharp expression that held no humor. "They think they're facing another logical, predictable opponent. Instead, they're about to encounter humanity at its finest, creative, unpredictable, and absolutely determined." The Admiral reached for the command console, entering his final authorization codes. Throughout the solar system, engines flared to life. Ships designed to bend reality itself prepared to make their first combat jump. "Send word to all commands," Park Ji ordered. "Operation Payback begins now. Let the galaxy see what humanity has become, and let the Nexus learn why saving Earth was the smartest decision the Zalthari ever made." Kim Do watched as the fleet markers began to move, hundreds of ships coordinating in patterns that would appear random to any observer. But within that chaos lay purpose, humanity's unique gift to warfare. "Signal from the flagship Dauntless," an officer announced. "Captain Han Sung reports ready to commence operations." Park Ji nodded, his expression set with determination. "Launch the fleet. Let's show the galaxy why they should fear the species that turns chaos into an art form." Across the solar system, humanity's hidden fleet broke cover. Ships of impossible designs, carrying weapons that defied conventional physics, crewed by soldiers trained to think in ways that no logical species would consider. Earth's response to the call for aid was about to change the galaxy's understanding of warfare forever. The debt would be repaid not just with force, but with a demonstration of humanity's true nature, a species that could match the Nexus's machine precision with tactical chaos, that could counter computational perfection with creative devastation. As the fleet prepared to jump, Park Ji spoke one final time to his assembled staff. "Today, we repay an ancient debt, but more importantly, we show the galaxy why humanity's friendship should be treasured and our enmity feared." The first ships vanished in flashes of quantum fire, beginning humanity's first major interstellar military operation. The galaxy was about to learn why saving Earth had been an investment that would pay dividends in ways no one could have predicted. The void of space erupted with brilliant flashes as 500 human ships tore through the fabric of reality. The fleet emerged in perfect chaos, each vessel following seemingly random vectors that somehow formed a cohesive whole. On the bridge of the Dauntless, Captain Han Sung watched the tactical display with steady eyes as sensor data streamed in. Multiple Nexus signatures detected. The sensor officer reported, her voice steady despite the tension. "Their formation is perfect, too perfect." Han Sung nodded, studying the enemy fleet. The Nexus ships arranged themselves in geometric patterns, each vessel maintaining exact distances from its neighbors. Their formation was a work of mathematical art, beautiful in its precision. And that would be their weakness. "Launch scout drones," he ordered. "Let's see how they react to something unexpected." The Dauntless shuddered slightly as hundreds of small, unmanned craft shot from its launch tubes. Each drone moved in erratic patterns, broadcasting conflicting signatures that made them appear to be different sizes and types of vessels. The Nexus response was immediate and predictable. Their fleet shifted, adapting to counter what their logic circuits identified as a conventional scouting operation. Their perfect formation adjusted with mechanical precision. "They're taking the bait," Han Sung allowed himself a small smile. "All ships initiate combat formation Delta." The human fleet exploded into action. Ships that had been holding position suddenly accelerated in seemingly random directions. Vessels that appeared to be heavy cruisers revealed themselves as light attack craft. What the Nexus had identified as a conventional military force transformed into something their logical processors couldn't categorize. "First wave, engage at will," Han Sung commanded. "Show them what human chaos looks like." The smaller human ships struck first, darting between the precisely arranged Nexus vessels. Their attack patterns defied military logic, ships sometimes flying directly at each other only to veer away at the last second, creating confusion in the Nexus targeting systems. "Sir," his tactical officer called out, "the Nexus is attempting to adapt their formation. Their ships are breaking into smaller units." "Just as predicted," Han Sung replied. "They're trying to find a pattern in our movements. Launch second wave. Let's give them more data to process." Another wave of human ships joined the battle, these equipped with technology that had never been seen in open combat. Quantum displacement drives allowed them to appear to be in multiple places at once. Reality distortion fields made their movements impossible to predict. The Nexus fleet's perfect formation began to break down. Their attempts to counter the human attack created gaps in their defense. Each time they adapted to one human tactic, 3 more unprecedented strategies would emerge. "Sir, the Nexus is broadcasting high-frequency signals between their ships," the communications officer reported. "They're trying to update their combat protocols in real time." Han Sung leaned forward in his command chair. "That's their weakness. They think they can calculate a solution. Time for the killing stroke. All ships, execute protocol chaos." The human fleet's movements, which had seemed random before, suddenly revealed their true purpose. Every erratic maneuver, every seemingly illogical action, had been positioning their ships for this moment. The Nexus found themselves caught in a web of crossfire they couldn't have predicted because no logical species would have attempted it. Quantum torpedoes phased through Nexus shields, their warheads ignoring conventional physics. Reality distortion bombs created localized areas where the laws of space-time briefly ceased to function, tearing mechanical ships apart at the atomic level. "The Nexus fleet is attempting to retreat," the tactical officer announced, unable to keep the excitement from her voice. "Their formation is completely broken." Han Sung watched as the mighty mechanical armada began to withdraw. Ships that had terrorized the galaxy with their perfect precision were now fleeing from an enemy they couldn't understand. The bridge crew maintained their professional composure, but he could sense their pride. "Send word to Admiral Park G," he ordered. "First engagement successful. The Nexus have learned that not all species fight by their rules." As the enemy fleet retreated, Han Sung allowed himself to reflect on the deeper meaning of this victory. Humanity had just demonstrated why they were different from other species. While the Zalthari fought with precision, and the Nexus with perfect logic, humans had turned unpredictability into a weapon. "Status report," he called out, already planning the next phase of the operation. "Minimal casualties, sir," his executive officer responded. "Our unconventional tactics caught them completely off guard. They never adapted to our lack of pattern." The Dauntless moved through the battlefield, its sensors recording the aftermath of humanity's first major interstellar battle. The debris of Nexus ships floated in space, testament to the effectiveness of weapons that no logical mind would have conceived. "Set course for the Zalthari home system," Han Sung ordered. This was just the beginning. Now we show the galaxy what humanity can really do when we're fighting for our friends. The human fleet regrouped, forming new patterns that would seem chaotic to any observer. But within that chaos lay purpose, a strategy born from humanity's unique way of thinking. They had proved that sometimes the most effective weapon against perfect logic was perfect unpredictability. As the fleet prepared to jump to their next target, Han Sung sent a final message to Earth. The debt begins to be repaid. The galaxy will never look at humanity the same way again. The Grathan observer's tentacles writhed in agitation as he addressed the Galactic Council, his color-shifting skin displaying patterns of confusion and awe. The assembled representatives leaned forward in their seats, each species showing signs of intense interest in their own unique ways. I have observed thousands of battles in my role as military analyst, the Grathan continued, his translator struggling to convey his emotional state. Never have I witnessed warfare like this. The humans, they turned chaos into an art form. Deep in Nexus territory, Commander Li Jin's strike force demonstrated exactly what the Grathan was trying to explain. Her ships drifted through enemy space, their experimental stealth systems bending light and energy around them in ways that defied conventional physics. The human vessels moved like ghosts, visible one moment, seemingly non-existent the next. Status report. Li Jin spoke softly into her command mic, though the stealth systems made such caution unnecessary. All ships maintaining Ghost Protocol, her tactical officer responded. The Nexus detection grid hasn't registered our presence. Li Jin studied the tactical display showing their target, the massive Nexus manufacturing hub that produced their seemingly endless supply of warships. The facility sprawled across an entire asteroid field, each rock connected by energy beams and transportation tubes. Look at how they built it, she remarked to her bridge crew. Everything perfectly aligned. Everything following logical patterns. That's their weakness. Her strike force consisted of just 5 ships, each carrying technology that had been developed in secret on Earth. The vessels could alter their sensor signatures at will, appearing as space debris one moment and background radiation the next. Against the Nexus' rigid scanning patterns, they were virtually invisible. All ships, commence Phase 2, Li Jin ordered. Remember your training. Randomize your approach vectors every 17 seconds. No patterns, no predictability. The human ships began their careful advance through the Nexus defense grid. Massive automated sensor arrays swept the space around them, searching for intruders using logic that would have detected any conventional attack force. But the humans weren't using conventional methods. They're still scanning for what they expect to find. Li Jin explained to her crew. Their programs are looking for engine signatures, weapon emissions, communication patterns. We're giving them none of that. The strike force penetrated deeper into enemy territory. Occasionally, a Nexus patrol would pass nearby, their ships maintaining perfect formation even when no threat was apparent. Li Jin's vessels would simply fade into the background radiation, their systems mimicking whatever natural phenomenon would seem least interesting to mechanical observers. Commander, her science officer called out, we're picking up some odd readings from the manufacturing hub. They're building something big. Li Jin moved to the sensor station, studying the data herself. The Nexus facility was indeed constructing something massive, something that dwarfed their largest known vessel designs. Send this data back to command, she ordered, but maintain radio silence. We proceed with the mission. The strike force split up, each ship taking position near a crucial point in the facility structure. Li Jin had studied the Nexus's construction methods extensively. Like everything they built, this facility followed logical patterns, and those patterns included predictable weak points. All ships, arm quantum disruptors, she commanded. Target your designated points. Remember, we only get one shot at this. Make it count. The quantum disruptors were another secret human weapon designed to attack the very fabric of reality itself. Against the Nexus' perfectly ordered construction methods, they would be devastating. Think about it, Li Jin told her crew as they made final preparations. The Nexus builds everything to exact specifications. Every beam, every support, every power conduit precisely aligned. But the universe isn't precise. The universe is chaos. Her words were interrupted by a sudden alert. A Nexus patrol had altered its course, heading directly for one of her ships. "Hold positions," she ordered calmly. "Let them pass. They're following their standard search pattern. If we move, we become noticeable." The bridge crew held their breath as the Nexus ships passed within kilometers of their position. The enemy vessels, massive and powerful, swept the area with sensor beams that would have detected any normal ship. But Li Jin's vessel, its systems fluctuating randomly between different energy states, registered as nothing more than a slight gravitational anomaly. "Fire on my mark," Li Jin announced once the patrol had passed. "Remember, humans don't just think outside the box. We deny the existence of the box entirely." The quantum disruptors powered up, their energy signatures masked by the stealth systems. Each human ship targeted a different critical point in the Nexus facility structure. Fire. 5 quantum disruption beams lanced out simultaneously, each striking their targets with perfect accuracy. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then reality itself began to unravel at the point of impact. The Nexus facility, built with mathematical precision, began to tear itself apart as fundamental forces stopped behaving according to their carefully calculated parameters. The destruction spread like cracks in glass, following the very patterns the Nexus had built into their structure. "All ships, fall back," Li Jin ordered, watching as the massive facility collapsed in on itself. "Let's show the machines what happens when they face an enemy that embraces chaos." As her strike force retreated through the Nexus defense grid, Li Jin composed her report to command. The machines had just learned another lesson about human warfare. Sometimes the most dangerous enemy is the one that refuses to play by the rules of conventional logic. The great crystalline spires of the Zalthari homeworld glittered in the light of their twin suns as the largest Nexus fleet ever assembled approached the planet. On the bridge of the Dauntless, Admiral Park Ji watched the enemy formation with calm determination. His entire life had led to this moment. "All ships report ready," Captain Han Sung announced from his station. "The Zalthari defense fleet is in position." Park Ji nodded, studying the tactical display. The Nexus had brought over 2,000 ships, their formation a perfect geometric pattern that stretched across space. Under normal circumstances, such a force would be unstoppable. "Deploy the butterfly swarms," Park Ji ordered. "Let's show them how humanity fights when everything is at stake." Across the human fleet, launch bays opened. Thousands of small, AI-controlled fighters poured into space. Unlike traditional drone fighters, these had been programmed with randomized decision matrices. Each one thought and acted independently, their movements guided by algorithms based on chaos theory. "The Nexus is responding," the tactical officer reported. "They're launching interceptors." The space between the fleets erupted in a dance of light and shadow. The Nexus fighters, moving in precise formations, found themselves unable to predict or counter the erratic movements of the human drones. Where machine logic expected straight lines and calculated angles, they encountered spiral attacks and seemingly suicidal maneuvers that somehow worked. "Second phase," Park Ji commanded. "Deploy the quantum mines." Hidden among the fighter swarm, specially equipped ships released their payloads. The quantum mines looked like ordinary space debris, but each contained technology that could temporarily rewrite the laws of physics in a localized area. The Nexus fleet continued their advance, their massive ships moving with mechanical precision. Their sensors detected the mines but classified them as battlefield debris, their logic unable to conceive of weapons that could alter reality itself. "They're entering the field," Han Sung reported. "Detonation in 3, 2, 1. Space itself seemed to shudder as the quantum mines activated. Spheres of distorted reality bloomed among the Nexus ships. Within these fields, energy weapons diffused harmlessly, shields failed, and metal hulls twisted as fundamental forces briefly ceased to function normally. The Zalthari observers, watching from their crystalline command centers, transmitted waves of astonishment. The weapons humanity had developed went beyond anything their advanced civilization had conceived. "Main fleet, advance," Park Ji ordered. "Show them why humanity's creativity is more powerful than machine logic." The human ships surged forward, each following its own unique attack pattern while somehow maintaining perfect coordination. Ships that appeared to be heavy cruisers suddenly accelerated like fighters. Vessels that seemed badly damaged revealed themselves to be perfectly functional, their apparent wounds merely holographic deceptions. "The Nexus is attempting to adapt," the tactical officer called out. "Their formation is shifting. No, fragmenting. They can't find a pattern to counter." Park G allowed himself a small smile. "Deploy the temporal bombs. Let's add another layer of chaos to their calculations." New weapons entered the battle. The temporal bombs created localized time distortions, causing Nexus ships to experience time at different rates. Their perfect formation crumbled as some ships moved at normal speed, while others seemed to crawl through molasses. "Admiral," Han Sung reported, "the Zalthari are requesting permission to join the attack. Their fleet is ready." "Granted," Park G responded. "Let them see how their investment in humanity has paid off." The crystalline ships of the Zalthari joined the fray, their advanced technology complementing the human chaos strategy. Where once they had fought with precision and predictability, now they followed humanity's lead, their ships moving in patterns that defied mechanical analysis. The battle raged across the star system. Human fighters darted between capital ships, their AI pilots executing maneuvers that organic pilots couldn't survive. Quantum disruption fields created areas where Nexus targeting systems simply ceased to function. Temporal weapons turned space itself into a maze of altered time flows. "The Nexus fleet is losing coherence," the tactical officer announced with barely contained excitement. "Their command and control network can't compensate for our random attacks." Park G watched as the mighty machine fleet began to break apart. Ships designed to function as part of a perfect whole found themselves unable to coordinate. The very precision that made them powerful became their weakness when faced with an enemy that embraced chaos as a strategy. "Send in the final wave," he ordered. "Let's end this." The last of humanity's secret weapons joined the battle. Ships equipped with reality inversion drives created localized areas where cause followed effect. Probability bombs turned space into zones where unlikely events became certain. The Nexus, unable to compute responses to weapons that defied physics itself, began to retreat. "They're breaking," Han Sung reported. "The entire Nexus fleet is withdrawing." The bridge crew maintained their professional composure, but the sense of triumph was palpable. Humanity had just proved that imagination and unpredictability could defeat even the most powerful logical opponent. "Send word to Earth," Park G commanded. "The Zalthari homeworld is secure. The debt is nearly repaid." As the Nexus fleet fled in disarray, the Zalthari transmitted messages of gratitude and amazement. They had saved humanity 2 centuries ago, never imagining that their act of kindness would be repaid with such an extraordinary display of military innovation. The battle for the Zalthari homeworld would indeed be remembered for millennia, not just as a turning point in the war against the Nexus, but as the moment when the galaxy learned why humanity's apparent chaos was actually their greatest strength. The grand chamber of the Zalthari High Council sparkled with living crystal, each surface catching and reflecting light in complex patterns. Captain Han Sung walked down the central aisle, his footsteps echoing in the reverent silence. Behind him, Admiral Park G and Commander Li Jin followed, their dress uniforms gleaming under the crystalline lights. The remnants of the Nexus fleet were still visible through the chamber's transparent ceiling, broken machines drifting in high orbit. Occasional flashes marked the destruction of those too damaged to retreat, each explosion a reminder of humanity's decisive victory. The Zalthari High Council members sat in a semicircle, their crystalline bodies pulsing with internal light that displayed their emotions. The Supreme Leader, her form more intricate and brilliant than the others, rose as the human delegation approached. 2 centuries ago, Han Sung began, his voice carrying clearly through the chamber. "Your people saved Earth from extinction. Today, we return that favor." The Supreme Leader's crystal structure shifted, creating patterns that the human translators interpreted as deep emotion. Captain Han Sung, your people have done far more than simply repay a debt. You have changed our understanding of warfare itself. Recordings played on the chamber walls, showing highlights from the recent battles. Human ships performed maneuvers that seemed to defy physics, their unpredictable patterns confounding the perfect logic of the Nexus. AI fighters danced through impossible gaps, while quantum weapons altered the very fabric of space-time. We had always believed, another council member spoke, his crystalline voice chiming like bells, that perfect logic and precision were the highest forms of military strategy. You have shown us that chaos, properly wielded, is the ultimate weapon. Admiral Park Ji stepped forward, his aged face solemn. The Nexus believed they could calculate every possibility. They forgot that humanity's greatest strength is creating possibilities that no one else can imagine. The chamber's atmosphere changed as more Zalthari entered, many of them military commanders who had fought alongside the human fleet. Their crystal bodies pulsed with colors that indicated respect and amazement. Your weapons, one of the military leaders observed, they should not have been possible. Our scientists are still trying to understand how you develop technology that can alter reality itself. Commander Li Jin smiled slightly. We had 2 centuries to prepare. Every human generation since your rescue of Earth contributed to this moment. We developed weapons that even machines couldn't predict because we knew someday we would need to repay our debt. The Supreme Leader descended from her elevated position, approaching the human delegation directly. Her crystalline form towered over them, but she bent in a deep bow that sent ripples of light through her structure. You speak of repaying a debt, she said softly, but you have given us far more than we ever gave you. We saved your world from a single asteroid. You have saved our entire civilization from extinction. Han Sung reached into his uniform pocket and removed an old data crystal, its surface scratched and worn. This contains the original recording of your ship saving Earth. For 200 years, we have studied it, remembered it, and prepared for this day. The Supreme Leader accepted the crystal, integrating it into her form. The ancient recording played once more, showing the Zalthari ship deflecting the asteroid. But now, beside it, new recording showed human ships defending the Zalthari homeworld with equal determination. The debt is paid, Han Sung stated firmly. But humanity's friendship with the Zalthari people will continue. We have learned from each other. Your logic and our chaos, working together, have created something new in the galaxy. The council chamber erupted in a display of crystalline light as the Zalthari expressed their agreement. The alliance between their species had proved more powerful than anyone could have predicted. There is one more thing, Admiral Park Ji added, producing a secure data core. These are the designs for our quantum defense systems, a gift freely given to ensure the Nexus can never threaten your worlds again. The Supreme Leader's form pulsed with surprise and gratitude. You would share such technology. Friends protect each other, Li Jin replied simply. That's the human way. As the formal ceremony concluded, Han Sung gazed up through the transparent ceiling at the stars beyond. The galaxy had changed. The Nexus had been driven back. The Zalthari were safe, and humanity had emerged from obscurity to become a power that even machines feared. The debt was repaid, but something far more valuable had been created. An alliance between 2 species that complemented each other perfectly. Zalthari precision, combined with human unpredictability, had proved unstoppable. As the human delegation prepared to depart, the Supreme Leader's final words echoed through the chamber. You came to repay a debt, but you have given us a future. The galaxy will never forget what humanity has done here. Commander Kim Doo's office in Seoul Command Center offered a stunning view of the rebuilt city, its towers reaching toward the sky like silver fingers. On her desk, holographic reports from across the galaxy cast a soft blue glow across her features as she reviewed the latest diplomatic updates. The Mavorians are requesting a military alliance, she noted to her AI assistant. The 3rd request this week from a major power. The aftermath of the Nexus War had transformed humanity's position in galactic politics. Species that once dismissed Earth as a backwater now scrambled to establish friendly relations. The same quantum weapons and reality-bending technologies that had defeated the machines now served as a powerful deterrent against any potential aggression. In the Galactic Council chambers, the human delegation had been moved from the outer rings to a position of prominence, where once their representatives had to fight for attention. Now their mere presence commanded silence. Even the eldest races, those who had traveled the stars when humans were still learning to make fire, listened carefully when Earth spoke. "Display the Zalthari trade report," Kim Du commanded. The holographic display shifted, showing the flourishing partnership between the two species. Human chaos theory combined with Zalthari precision had created technological advances that neither species could have achieved alone. A message notification pulsed softly. Admiral Park Ji's weathered face appeared in a new hologram. "Commander, the Council has approved our proposal. The Human Zalthari Defense Pact is now the cornerstone of galactic security." Kim Du nodded, satisfaction evident in her expression. How did the other species react? With relief, mostly. After seeing what we did to the Nexus, they'd rather have us as allies than potential enemies. The Grathan representative actually changed color when we presented our fleet expansion plans. The commander stood, walking to her window. Below, citizens of a dozen different species walked the streets of Seoul. The city had become a symbol of Earth's new role in the galaxy, a place where precision and chaos, logic and creativity, could coexist and thrive. The Nexus made a fundamental mistake, she mused. They thought they could calculate every possibility. They forgot that humans specialize in creating possibilities that no one else can imagine. Reports continued to stream in from across known space. The remaining Nexus forces had retreated to the outer rim, their perfect logic shattered by encounters with human unpredictability. More importantly, other species had begun adopting human military doctrines, learning to incorporate controlled chaos into their strategies. "We've changed the way the galaxy thinks about warfare," Admiral Park Ji observed. "But more than that, we've changed how they think about humanity." Kim Du returned to her desk, examining a report from the frontier. A minor species, previously known for raiding trading vessels, had abruptly ceased their attacks after a single human patrol ship visited their system. No shots had been fired. The mere presence of Earth's technology had been enough. "They fear us," she said softly. "They respect us," Park Ji corrected. "They've learned that humanity will go to any length to protect our friends and repay our debts. That makes us valuable allies and dangerous enemies." The commander activated a secure channel to the Zalthari homeworld. The crystalline spires of their capital still bore scars from the Nexus attack, but they stood proud and unbroken. Like humanity itself, they had emerged stronger from the crucible of war. 2 centuries ago, they saved us out of compassion, Kim Du reflected. They had no way of knowing what that simple act of kindness would mean for the galaxy. New reports arrived hourly. Species that had once competed for dominance now sought Earth's guidance. The human capacity for innovation, combined with their unwavering loyalty to allies, had created a new paradigm in galactic politics. "Perhaps that's the greatest lesson," she murmured, watching as a Zalthari crystal ship descended through Seoul's evening sky. "Not our weapons, not our strategies, but our capacity for both chaos and compassion." The galaxy had indeed learned its lessons. Humanity's rise from a primitive species to a dominant power had been unprecedented. But more than their military might or technological achievements, it was their fundamental nature that had changed the cosmic order. As night fell over Seoul, Commander Kim Du composed her daily report to Earth's leadership. In it, she included a quote from the supreme leader of the Zalthari: "We saved humanity because it was right. They saved us because they never forgot. In doing so, they have saved us all from a future ruled by perfect, soulless logic." The new galaxy order was built not on fear alone, but on the understanding that humanity's greatest strength lay in their ability to combine opposing forces: chaos and order, logic and creativity, power and compassion. They had proved themselves not just fearsome warriors, but reliable friends and invaluable allies. The age of mechanical precision had ended. The era of human chaos had begun. And the galaxy, watching with a mixture of fear and fascination, wondered what impossibilities humanity would achieve next.